dedicated to Nikola Tesla and the White Dove, two understanding hearts, two sustaining flames, who still labor faithfully with us, tending the little lamp of earth until that nearing hour when our illumined planet will orbit in glory as Freedom's star. Part 1. Now and in the beginning. Now it is early November 1957 here on the planet Earth. It is a glad November, a special kind of November, decked with a sparkle and a twinkle, and with long tall nights stretching upward to the stars. There are two new pinpricks of light up there which we call Sputniks. Later they will be joined by other little moons and little satellites, all rollicking and frolicking together, round and round the globe, like the gay wooden horses on a merry-go-round. Yes, indeed, it is a glad November. Then there are those lovely saucers flying about everywhere, their brilliant colors flashing like a peacock's tail. Many of them come to us over great cosmic lightways, winging their way even without wings, traveling about God's great playground, propelled by the sustaining breath of His love for His children. Even the foolish ones who now need be foolish no longer, for that is what makes it a glad November here on the planet Earth. We need be foolish no longer. Now we can awaken, stretch our minds and hearts up, 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 until we hit a star. We have been prodigals for the last 19 million years, and the diet of husks has been awful. But the bad dream is over. We can relax and prepare for the feast, a grand and wonderful festival of human victory which will last for 2,000 years. By that time, we will have long since forgotten about the husks and the 19 million years of planetary isolation, and we will be out there riding the lightways in spaceships, hopping from star to star on our cosmic assignments, while the great symphony of the spheres plays on, and the angels sing. Of course, we still have with us, in these latter days, the diehards, the spoil sports, the screwballs, the oddballs, the sad sacks, and a whole assortment of wet blankets in a wide variety of sizes, shapes, and shades. They are the ones with the souped-up egos. They do not buy the idea of spaceships, music of the spheres, or the singing of angels. They are the foolish ones who want to continue their foolishness. In the hospital world that we have known for millions of years during our cosmic quarantine, it is correct to say that most of us have been foolish in the majority of our embodiments. We have been dreadful phonies, strictly hams, acting out roles on a stage called the world, a stage like a mixed-up, upside-down cake with an animated crazy quilt for a platter. With such a design for living, it is a matter of no wonderment that whoever is in charge had to send flying saucers to rescue us, warn us, cajole us, or to just haul some of us off to a new dumping ground, to a new sort of hospital planet, devoted exclusively to drying out wet blankets and removing the sadness from sacks, and that, if you please, just at the very moment when the chemise became high fashion. But those of us who are left here on the planet Earth, who will continue our evolution here after the saucers have flown the cracked cups away to a new repair shop, well, we will have a whale of a cleanup job ahead of us, because this globe has been lacking in good housekeeping for a long, long time. We will have to step out and keep up with the Joneses, only this time they don't live down the street. They live up there on those gay, sparkling spheres called Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and so forth, and in places which sound like a melody. Aquaria, Clarion, and a tiny little lighted jewel of a planet called Excelsior. Excelsior, it has been said, is a delightful little place inhabited by little people, but real little people, very beautiful little men and women of exquisite stature towering 2 or perhaps even 3 inches in height. They have perfect forms, which move and float in rhythmic dances of breathtaking beauty and grace. They have never known distress of any kind. They are God's dedicated little children. Their fire dances in honor of the sacred flame are all expressions of thanksgiving to their Creator for his gift of life. That is their way of praying. Dancing is to them synonymous with living, or the expressing of gratitude for limitless cosmic abundance. They are extremely artistic, and when they are not dancing, they are constantly helping the little nature spirits, the fairies, the elves, the water sprites, to rearrange the decorations on the surface of their planet. Perhaps a miniature rose tree just there, and a tiny waterfall plunging dizzily down from a sheer drop of 1 foot would be effective as a backdrop for a new dance. Are ideas such as these pondered by the little men and women who live on Excelsior? The heavy foot of an earthling may never tread to Excelsior, but it is said that spaceships are equipped with marvelous viewing devices which will bring a planetary surface into a clear focus, such as would make all Hollywood's cameras and screens seem like instruments as primitive as a stone arrowhead. Truly, the cosmos is a place fascinating beyond the imagination of man, and best of all, it is man's heritage. That is where we belong, out there in the playground of the gods, far beyond the silly Sputniks, the false moons, the grapefruit-sized satellites, even beyond the moon itself, and beyond the neighboring planets and stars, and into the great golden pathway of the Milky Way. We belong far beyond all the rubbish and rubble of this once magnificent planet, which we ourselves have turned into a hell. The universe is our heritage, and we have but to claim it, to explore it, to revel in its fathomless beauty. It is all ours to use, to improve, and to love. That is the clue. It is ours to love. But we have forgotten how to love natural things, God-created things. We love only our own grotesque miscreations. Our mighty death-dealing weapons, our sculptured monuments marking blood-stained battlefields, our martial music designed to stir the hearts of men as they march forth to kill and be killed, our guided missiles conceived by unguided men, left helpless and bereft without knowledge of their source, our ungreat bombs that can pulverize a great city in one blow, our unmighty dew line, known among the hush-hush boys, among the don't-tell-the-taxpayer boys, as the busted bubble. We love to visit our spacious cemeteries, crowded to overflowing with the silent dead. We love to bedeck the graves with ugly arrangements of withering flowers, piling death upon death. We are sorry we could not give our beloved a more handsome tombstone, but taxes ride beside death on this planet. You know how it is. There is the hospital bill, the doctor bill, the x-ray bill, the bill at the corner drugstore, plus a whopping big bill from the surgeon who cut and carved and sliced and sawed with all his might and main while death just stood there and waited patiently. It was by no whim of chance that our cosmic hierarchy designated the Earth as Planet D in the solar system. The letter has come to stand for death, destruction, devastation, desperation, deficits, depletion, depressions, devils, and the dew line. It also stands for dainty dancers who have never known distress. But that is on the planet Excelsior. Somewhere out there in space, somewhere out there where the wind is singing, where the air is fresh and sweet as white daisies laughing in the sun, the little planet spins on its course. A tiny crystal globe is alight with the sacred flame, and around it the little men and women circle in their rhythmic dance, their hearts aflame with love of the One. The little waterfall splashes merrily. A brilliant butterfly flits about the miniature rose tree and finds a resting place. The stillness vibrates with rapture. The dance goes on Excelsior. And here on this earth, death still rides in the saddle, but not for long. Now in this glad November, we can live with joy again. Now is the moment of appraisal. Now is the time to catch, to hold, to examine a fleeting cosmic instant covering 19 million years in the cycle of human history on this planet Earth. For now, in these early November days of 1957, we know that the long and terrible chapter of human struggle has been finished. That is, it is finished for those who want it that way. For the others, the die-hard skeptics, the sinister secretives, the know-it-alls, the so-wetters, for all these and others of their tribe, special provision will be made. But elsewhere, somewhere, not here, not on this planet, for this planet has really had it, and far, far beyond the call of duty. That call first came sounding through the entire galaxy 19 million years ago. The universe had assembled a large number of refugees from evolution. These were the laggards, the leftovers, the rejected ones from other planets and stars in this and other solar systems. Using their free will in a destructive manner, they had made orphans of themselves by refusing the guidance of their own higher natures, their own divine selves, and preferred to dally away their time in experimenting with miscreations of their own, rather than in learning to create according to the divine plan. They contributed nothing constructive to the whole, of which they were an integral part. They had skipped so many classes in evolution that they could not hope to catch up. Their miscreations proved so imperfect and destructive that they were finally refused further opportunities to incarnate within their own groups. So the Earth people came forward and offered to help the laggards by receiving them into families here. No other planet had a classroom for these problem students, or at least no other planet was willing to tackle the job of trying to redeem them. But the Earth was a young planet, vigorous and strong, magnificently beautiful, abundant and full of promise. Disease was unknown. There was no distress in the sense of strain or pain. Members of the first root race were brought to the Earth in a natural spaceship, a force field formed by their Manu. They were accompanied by their teachers, sages, and hierarchs, representing the 7 great cosmic rays, the sacred flames which contain within their fiery essence all the virtues of the Godhead. This first group settled down in what is now familiarly known as the Great Teton area in Wyoming. That country is still beautiful today, but in those days the entire globe was a sphere of unrivaled beauty. It is said that Amaryllis, the goddess of spring, so loved the earth that she spent 900 years supervising its decoration, preparing it for the first guests. Over the entire globe, the climate was always pleasant, neither too warm nor too cold, a land of eternal spring. There were no storms, floods, hurricanes, blizzards, or natural catastrophes because there was no discord among the people. Human beings definitely make their own weather conditions. Moreover, the clear and beautiful lower atmosphere around the earth became steadily more and more radiant as the hierarchs and sages instructed the people how to draw forth the God essence of the rays, how to magnetize and anchor the sacred fire upon their altars, so that it would be readily available for use for any practical purpose that might arise. The people had chosen to come into physical embodiment in order to use their thoughts feelings, spoken words, and actions in the material atmosphere of these lower realms, and thereby gain self-mastery within a certain environment. Embodiment was in the nature of a scientific experiment, an opportunity to use the sacred flame on matter of a low vibration and yet secure a harmonious result. These people knew that matter was spirit slowed down, and that spirit was matter speeded up. As more and more energy was drawn forth from the 7 rays and anchored in matter, the colors in the lower atmosphere of the earth became beautiful, positive, and constructive. The music of the spheres was a natural outpouring from the earth because of the sustained radiation, and in those days all the stars and planets sang together in one vast symphonic paean of praise to the God of love, who had created a great cosmic paradise for his children. The earth people, living in this radiant atmosphere, were constantly bathed in these glorious emanations which flooded the earth from outer space, and then ascended back to the source, for it is in the nature of the flame, even physical fire, to rise. As a result, the people felt buoyant, energized, and spiritually attuned at all times. Their vision was unclouded, and they had not only the visible and tangible evidence of the incoming rays and the rising flames, but they were in constant association with cosmic beings, masters of the ageless wisdom, archangels, and the seraphic and cherubic hosts. Each root race was supposed to spend 14,000 years on the planet, permitting the formation of 7 subraces, each under one of the 7 rays. That arrangement gave opportunity for a full round of experience under 49 different sets of conditions. The first 2 root races accomplished this with ease, for they had no weight of discord upon them. At the close of this type of initiation into self-mastery, each individual then accomplished the ascension. That is, he had attained complete command over matter, so that he was able to rise the vibration of the physical atoms which composed his body and ascend to his home star to await his next evolutionary assignment. Save for the long drag of time, the initiatory system on this planet remains the same today. At some time and some embodiment, each individual must make his own ascension. He must be able to achieve mastery over matter, raise the vibrations of his physical body, form a force field or personal spaceship, and ascend to his home star. During the present Aquarian age, all death as we know it today will cease on this planet. Each individual will be scientifically trained to make his ascension, exactly as it is done on other planets. The clue to the ascension, in olden times as well as now, is the use of love. If there is any discord shown toward matter, toward a physical atom, it is impossible to raise the vibration in a natural way, but only by the use of brute force, such as modern scientists advocate. Discord has the effect of lowering vibrations. The early initiates were trained by adepts from other planets who came to the Earth to assist the first inhabitants. Each individual, in experimenting with matter, was trained to lovingly call forth the God substance, which forms the nucleus of the atom, inviting it to rise and return to the source. The entire atom responded by increasing the rate of its revolution and rising. This method is still the one and only method by which the ascension can be achieved today. Each and every human being must make the ascension from the Earth's classroom before he can progress further in evolution elsewhere. Love is the one and only answer. Jesus, the great disciple of light, demonstrated the ascension 2,000 years ago, but the dark forces working within churchianity perverted the true teachings. and the long-suffering public continued to suffer and pay the bills. The third root race, under the loving direction of its Manu, spread its activities out over the globe to the east and the west, the north and the south. The objective was always the same, to call forth the God essence within the rays, to anchor that divine energy within matter, thus spiritualizing the very earth itself so that eventually the atoms would open like budding flowers, freeing the imprisoned light in the center of the atom, a light which had gained in brilliance because of its service to the planet. The light thus set free by the action of the descending cosmic rays joined the great ascending flame that rose from the earth on its way back home to the source. Meanwhile, as more and more souls incarnate on earth, more and more energy was called forth from the cosmic rays. More matter was spiritualized, and the area of anchorage extended deeper into the earth. The earth became more and more perfect in form as the people expended more and more love upon matter, and attained more mastery in freeing imprisoned light. Such a high state of harmony was reached by the third root race, which when the call went forth for a classroom for the laggards, the earth people responded. The population agreed to receive the laggards, permitting them to come in through the natural gates of birth. Birth in those days was not a physical process, however, but electrical. It was accomplished by the crossing and union of positive and negative light rays projected forth by the chosen parents. This system will again be restored on the planet Earth during the present Aquarian age. The Earth people felt quite confident that the laggards, being born into such an atmosphere of joy and harmony, would quickly adapt themselves to the young and progressive evolutionary procedure on the planet, and forgetting their past would join in developing the divine plan on this globe. The laggards were brought in as souls, but their causal bodies were encased in dense astral bodies of ugly coloration because they were heavily burdened with karma resulting from their misspent lives on other planets and stars. Their mental bodies were beclouded with self-created thought forms of monstrous appearance, and they were unable to absorb more than a flicker of light from their individualized God nature. Therefore, being virtually helpless, they had to be brought to the earth in spaceships manned by special teachers, and they were then held in a specially prepared astral atmosphere near the earth until each had a chance to be born in a physical body. These physical bodies were not as dense as they are now, but light and quite ethereal, with a high rate of vibration. The people did not walk, but levitated. There was no physical labor or struggle of any kind, no distress and no disease. The high hopes which the earth people had for the laggards did not manifest. The laggards, once in physical bodies, continued their old ways. They refused to respond to their new harmonious environment. They insisted on using their own free will to create their own monstrous follies. They declined to assist in unfolding the divine plan. Moreover, they polluted and poisoned the radiant atmosphere with their astral emanations. Scorning all cooperative endeavors spiritually, they grew and matured in physical grossness. They mated and produced offspring of their kind. They poisoned their physical bodies with their own misguided emotions and thoughts of hatred. They introduced disease on the planet. They experienced death instead of the glorious ascension back to the source. They lost all contact with their source. They refused to believe in the One. Their vision was so beclouded that they could not see the interaction of the descending rays and the ascending flame. They doomed themselves to a long, wearying cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. For a long while, the third root race peoples, hosts to the laggards, managed to maintain the status quo among themselves. They kept the sacred flames burning brightly upon their altars. They adored the One. They kept agreeing the memory of those paradisiacal rays before the laggards came. But the frightful contamination became worse. The atmosphere around the earth became gloomy and dark. The rays could no longer penetrate to the vegetation and soil. Only the physical sunlight, devoid of the life-giving God essence of the great universal virtues, reached the people. No longer did the earth give forth its natural note of harmony. Its great vibrant chords were missing from the music of the spheres. No longer did the earth give off light, for the flame had ceased to rise. This, in brief, is the story of the fall of man.